My name is Ellie Mayo-Hagan and I'm a journalist for the Guardian newspaper, and I'm here to say that I support the people of Ecuador in their campaign against Chevron, whose behaviour has been absolutely disgraceful in Ecuador. They've caused untold levels of pollution and they've showed no remorse and no desire to account for their actions. And their case demonstrates who really runs the world when it comes to governments and big business. So I call on Chevron to take responsibility for the damage that they've done in Ecuador and to pay up. And I show my full support and solidarity with the people of Ecuador. We're with you. We hope you win your fight.
The people of Ecuador have suffered terrible pollution because of Chevron and its behaviour. The Ecuadorian courts have found that the Chevron company must pay compensation to the people of Ecuador to ensure a full clean-up. If the same thing happened in the USA, American courts would force any oil company, as they did with BP, to pay for a complete clean-up. Instead, Chevron are now taking the whole of Ecuador to the International Court as a way of punishing the people of Ecuador for having the temerity to demand freedom, justice, and demand that a multinational company behaves in a responsible manner. I support the people of Ecuador. I support the government of Ecuador in trying to defend its people against this grotesque.
My name is Oscar Guardiola Rivera. I'm a Colombian writer and an academic here in London, and I support justice for Ecuador. Chevron is guilty of having spilled more than 71 million litres of toxic waste and over 64 million litres of crude oil in the Amazon jungle and in other territories of Ecuador. Instead of paying what it's due to the people of Ecuador, Chevron has been trying to smear the Ecuadorian government and to go against its just efforts to achieve justice for this cause. It is because of that that I support the efforts of the Ecuadorian government in bringing justice to the people of Ecuador and in bringing Chevron to pay what is due to the people of Ecuador. Join us, join me, join the indigenous peoples of Ecuador and the Ecuadorian government. Come and see for yourselves the damage that Chevron has caused in the country. And let it be known to the rest of the world that multinationals such as Chevron cannot get away with murdering our most important natural reserve in the world.
My name's Chris Williamson, I'm the Labour MP for Derby North, and I think it's an absolute international scandal, the behaviour of Chevron in the case of Ecuador. And I've tabled a motion in the House of Commons calling on Chevron to stop this action, and I will leave no stone unturned doing what I can in the British Parliament to bring pressure on Chevron to honour their international obligations to Ecuador.
I just want to do a big shout out of support for the people of Ecuador who are struggling against a multinational company which is refusing to pay for the environmental damage that they themselves alone are responsible for. It's time to stop multinational companies running roughshod over democracy, and this is a stance which I hope people right across the world support. Let's stand against these sorts of multinational companies. Time for Chevron to cough up and pay for the damage you've caused. Solidarity.
My name's Megan Dobney. I'm the Regional Secretary for the TUC for the Southern Eastern region. I'm very pleased to be supporting the campaign to ensure that Chevron pays up for the damage that it has done. And not only should it pay up, it should do so speedily and in full. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Conor Murphy. I'm an Irish Member of Parliament and I want to offer my support to the Ecuadorian people in their campaign against Chevron to have the disaster that Chevron inflicted on the Ecuadorian people addressed and find justice for those who suffered as a consequence of Chevron's actions in Ecuador. I fully support their campaign, and I would like to see the international community fully support that campaign as well.
I'm Robin Blackburn, historian and sociologist with a long-time interest in Latin America, and I've been lucky enough to visit Ecuador, a very beautiful country, and I'm very concerned that the Chevron oil company is not facing up to its obligations with regard to the great damage it's caused to Ecuador's, some of its most beautiful regions. I would like to see people boycotting Chevron products until the oil company comes forward forward and is willing to repay and repair the damage that has been done.
My name is Aaron Kiley. I'm the NUS Black Students Officer, elected to represent 1 million students of African, Arab, Asian and Caribbean heritage, and I would like to extend our full support to the campaign for justice for Ecuadorian people in the face of environmental damage that has been caused by Chevron, and a massive multinational, transnational corporation. And really, we want reparations for the people of Ecuador who've had massive damage done to the environment, their communities, and it's really about supporting justice for the people there, indigenous people who have suffered in the Amazon. So we extend our solidarity, our full support. Get dirty hands out of Ecuador. Thank you.
Thanks to the oil that's been excavated from Ecuador, the people that live in those forests and whose environment it is have suffered enormous losses, painful losses. For justice to be done, the oil companies and their consumers must pay for the gift given to them by the people of Ecuador. They must pay a fair price. They must compensate.
I'm Dr. Francisco Dominguez. I'm director of the Center for Brazilian and Latin American Studies in London and in the United Kingdom. I want to use this opportunity to send a greeting to the people in Ecuador, in the communities that have been affected by the criminal and irresponsible activities of Chevron. It is unacceptable, completely intolerable. The multinational companies that are pillaging our countries go to our communities, destroy the habitat, and do not take any responsibility for their destruction. I think it's absolutely essential that they pay for what they have done, and they have to take responsibility for this. And in this regard, I also want to support the brave position and attitude of the Ecuadorian government, who is supporting the communities and is also supporting national sovereignty.
My name is Pablo Navarrete. I'm an independent journalist and documentary filmmaker. I know about the case about Chevron in Ecuador really through a documentary that I saw that exposed what Chevron had done in Ecuador. And what this corporation has done in Ecuador is really scandalous. And in a way, it speaks to what many corporations have done historically in Latin America, of coming to the region, pillaging the resources, extracting all the money they can, and then leaving without any attempt to pay consequences for the environmental and human damage. I'm happy that we have governments today in Latin America, like Ecuador, that are standing up to these corporations, standing up for their people, for their indigenous communities, to demand justice. And I wish the Ecuadorian government every success in their search for justice for Ecuador's people against Chevron.